Sonera Airstrip, a tiny and unattractive airport in Tanzania, serves some of the richest people in the world while seeing hundreds of planes per day. Wondering why? Because the Serengeti National Park, one of the most renowned safari locations in the world, is accessible from the airfield. Around 24 five-star hotels can be found in the park, some of which demand extravagant charges that most people would find absurd. But when we step back and look at the whole picture, we see an alarming disparity. And we think you need to know about it. So don't go anywhere and stay tuned till the end. Tanzania is one of the poorest countries in the world, with an average income of just $1,099 per year. The region that encompasses the Serengeti is even poorer than the national average, and a meal at one of the luxury hotels could cost a resident several days' worth of income. There's something about such a stark degree of income inequality in such close proximity that raises concerns about exploitation. On the other hand, the ultra-wealthy who visit the Serengeti provide a livelihood for local guides who can earn a living taking them on tours of the wilderness. But on the other hand, the land was originally inhabited by local people who were kicked off the land to make way for the national park. Despite these complexities, the fact remains that the animals in the park benefit from the absence of human habitation. The wealthy visitors who come to the Serengeti are drawn by the natural beauty of the area, and they do not harm the animals. However, it is essential to consider the ethical implications of this kind of luxury tourism, especially in light of the vast income disparities between visitors and local residents. Human presence in the wildlife parks can have negative effects on the animals living there, such as elephants becoming stressed and cheetahs abandoning their kills. However, the revenue generated by tourism is what enables the park to exist, and the industry as a whole relies on it to protect endangered species and preserve natural wonders. There are certainly trade-offs, including displacement of people and the taming of animals for tourists, but it is a compromise that is necessary to protect dwindling species. Safari hunting is another example of a moral trade-off where individuals pay large sums of money to legally kill rare and endangered animals. While this co-modification of animals can be emotionally difficult to accept, it can also be seen as a way to minimize tragedy. Pure conservation is difficult to achieve in today's world, and the revenue generated by safari hunting can be used for conservation efforts and to support local communities. Overall, it is important to consider the complex issues at play when it comes to wildlife preservation and the role that human activity plays in it. While there are certainly ethical concerns and trade-offs to consider, it is ultimately up to individuals and society as a whole to make informed decisions about how we interact with and protect the natural world. The world's growing human population has led to the spread of humans to every corner of the planet, leaving very few places untouched. Even in areas that were once deemed inhospitable, such as the African wilderness, there is now value in the human economic system. Fertile, agriculturally productive areas like Tanzania always have a way to turn a profit off of any stretch of open land, making it a constant target for development. Agriculture is the driving force behind the destruction of the wilderness in rural areas. This is not just for fields for farming, but also for cattle grazing, which is more cost-efficient than buying feed if the grazing land is cheap enough. Almost any stretch of land that can sustain wild animals can also sustain cattle, and with endless demand for beef, farmers have the incentive to acquire more land if the price is right. The problem is that, left unchecked, virtually everything would be turned into something, and any human use of land presents an issue for wild animals. Even something as simple as cattle grazing leads to diminished resources and disrupted ecosystems, making it tougher for already endangered wild animals to survive. Unfortunately, the economic value of land does not take into account the existential value of wild habitats for animals, making it difficult to incorporate the preservation of these habitats into the capitalist supply and demand-driven model. Conservation plays a vital role in saving these habitats by taking land and specifying its use as disuse. However, conservation comes at a cost, not only to set up but also to enforce. Therefore, it is necessary to work against the capitalist model to save these habitats and the animals that depend on them. The Serengeti National Park is a vast, breathtaking expanse of land that is home to some of the world's most magnificent and rarest animals. However, this protected area is under constant threat from illegal grazing and poaching, which could destroy the delicate ecosystem and put the animals at risk of extinction. This is where the contentious issue of trophy hunting comes into play. Trophy hunting has been a source of controversy for many years, with some arguing that it is an essential tool for conservation, while others believe it to be morally wrong and harmful to the environment. Proponents of trophy hunting argue that it generates income and employment for local communities and can create a monetary value for wildlife, thereby discouraging poaching and other illegal activities. They also point to success stories in South Africa and Zimbabwe, where trophy hunting has been used to increase animal populations and conservation lands. However, opponents of trophy hunting argue that it is an unethical and unsustainable practice that does more harm than good. They argue that the economic benefits of trophy hunting are overstated and that the vast majority of revenue goes to outfitters and guides, rather than to local communities. Moreover, they contend that hunting of large, rare, and endangered animals is inherently wrong and undermines efforts to protect them. The reality is that conservation is a complex issue that requires a nuanced approach. Trophy hunting can indeed generate revenue and provide employment opportunities for local communities, but it is equally true that it can be detrimental to animal populations and the environment. Ultimately, the decision to allow trophy hunting must be based on a careful assessment of the costs and benefits, as well as on ethical considerations. In conclusion, the issue of trophy hunting is not a simple one, and it requires thoughtful and informed discussion. While it is clear that conservation requires active intervention, whether or not trophy hunting is an effective means of achieving this is a matter of debate. Ultimately, the decision should be based on a thorough and impartial analysis of the costs and benefits, as well as on ethical considerations. The revenue generated by trophy hunting is a topic of fierce debate. The Safari Club International claims that trophy hunting contributes $426 million annually to the GDP of 8 southern African economies. However, the Humane Society International commissioned its own study that laid out numerous methodological errors in the Safari Club International's analysis. The overall structure of the study involved surveying hunters on their in-country spending, multiplying that by the total number of hunter visitors, then adding a multiplier to inflate it to a corresponding GDP figure. The Southwick study considered trophy hunting entirely in isolation, assuming that exactly zero income would come from the land, businesses, and visitors engaging in the industry if it didn't occur, which is a basic failure in the process of economic impact analysis. Additionally, the study's own data indicates a strong sampling bias, and it completely ignored the counterfactual case because it was convenient to its client. Therefore, the claim that trophy hunting generates significant revenue should be taken with a grain of salt. The debate surrounding the economic impact of trophy hunting on African economies is contentious and lacks a consensus. While the Safari Club International claims that trophy hunting contributes significantly to southern African economies, a study commissioned by the Humane Society International highlights numerous methodological errors in the analysis. The economists at large revised and corrected the methodology to create its own economic impact estimate, which was less than a third of what was originally posited. Moreover, concerns about how much revenue is used for conservation are concerning, as only a small amount of revenue purportedly goes to conservation efforts. Given the systematic slaughter of endangered species and the paltry amount of revenue directed toward the conservation efforts, photo safaris appear to be a less destructive and more pragmatic alternative. However, the booming popularity of photo safaris in Tanzania is causing serious problems for conservation efforts. The development boom in northern Tanzania, fueled by the rise of the Northern Circuit, has led to a realization that, in Tanzania, conservation serves tourism, rather than the other way around. The country's park system is aggressively pursuing further development, and each year the country releases an investment prospectus for those interested in building a lodge within the park's boundaries. While the parks themselves are undeniably changing, the most significant impact is being felt in the lands directly around the parks, where regulations are more relaxed and restrictions remain relatively loose. Developers and outfitters are capitalizing on the newfound popularity, forever altering the landscapes driving the region's rise in popularity. However, this development is proving too successful for the sake of pure conservation, leading to more roads, airstrip, private entities running hunting reserves and safari lodges, and strife between local populations and Tanzania's federal government, which has the potential to destabilize the region. Any bargain is only as effective as those maintaining and enforcing it. Therefore, it is a reminder of the value of nuance and enforcing any bargain to ensure it remains true to its original intentions. And that brings us to the end of the video. For more interesting content like this, subscribe to our channel. Also, don't forget to press that bell icon. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, peace.